I'm Peg Perl. I'm the Director of Elections here in the Arapahoe Clerk and Recorder's Office Elections Division. And I'm here to take you on a tour of our elections warehouse. We are processing ballots right now for the June state primary, and we're happy to take you around on this virtual tour. We are not doing in-person tours of the public right now for our public health restrictions. So I'm glad that we're able to share this with you virtually so you can watch safely from home or wherever you are taking care of yourself and your family right now. So right now we've got a lot of activity going in the warehouse. We have over 50,000 ballots that have come back already from Arapahoe County citizens. That's about a 13% turnout. So there's a lot of things we can show you, which is great. Our first step is here in receiving. These ballot boxes are what we fill when we come back from our drop boxes. Across the county, we have 30 24-hour drop boxes that you can put your ballots in with no postage, just drive up and drop it off. So our ballot security teams, which are bipartisan teams, go out and retrieve those ballots every day and bring them back in here. They take them out, make a note of where they're from so that we can keep a track a little bit of how many ballots are being used in which box, and we can track what's being most useful to our voters. And they'll also check for things like phone bills or other types of mail that might accidentally be in the ballot box, and we'll make sure that those get routed directly to the post office. We do sometimes also get ballots from other counties. Some of our boxes are co-branded with Adams County in Aurora and other places. So we make sure we take care of those and trade them off with our county partners at Adams County. So we take a weight measurement of these ballots just to estimate how many were in each tray, and then get them ready over here to go processing. So the first thing we do in our warehouse is we end up color coding everything. So our first batch here is in green, which means it's ready to go through our ballot sorting machine. And that'll be the first step on its journey through the whole warehouse. Our machine is right over here in sorting. So this is our ballot sorting machine, and it does a couple important things for us here. First, it will go ahead and scan a copy of the signature on the outside of your ballot. So those of you who still have your ballot at home, remember to sign the envelope. So our scanning will take a look at that picture of the signature so that we can use that later in signature verification. Also, it goes ahead and sorts them into different pockets based on things that we've programmed into it. So here's where we may sort out things like folks who are required to return a picture of their ID. It will also sort ballots that are damaged in any way, maybe ripped or destroyed in a little way so that we can't read the barcode. And that's where we want to make sure that we give them extra care and we can take care of them in the process. For those of you who are signed up for Ballot Track on our website, when we sort these through the machine is when we scan them as received, and that's where you would get a notification saying that your ballot has been received for counting here at the warehouse. So I'm going to take a break talking for a second because they're going to start up this machine, which is a little bit loud, and we'll get a moment for you to see how our machine works. We have a great team here in Arapahoe County, both our staff and our election judges helping out. So as you can see right here, we're going to start this machine that gets loud. So these trays that we have here hold about 300 ballots each. So depending on how we get going in the election, we can be going through a lot of these trays very fast, and this machine could be running all day long as we get going next week and towards the final election day on June 30th. So you'll see that they're moving the ballots into yellow trays. Yellow is for our next stage of signature verification. And so that's where we're going to move them along in the process from the ballot sorting machine here. And so that's where we'll go ahead and move now, is on to signature verification as well. We'll move over here where it's maybe a little less loud. These are ballots that are being used in signature verification. Because our camera is able to scan that signature, the physical ballots don't have to be handled by the election judges in the signature verification room. They're able to look at a computer scanned image of the ballot, but we know where the original ballot is if we need to refer to it for any reason. So we'll go on in and check out signature verification. So this is signature verification. It is one of our 2 signature verification rooms this election because we are spacing people out for social distancing and COVID. You can see as we generally pan the room, we're kind of not using all available stations and spacing folks out. And we do have some election judges in a different room as well. We do work in bipartisan teams, which is why you see a couple of people talking together on signature verification here. But in general, we're spaced between 2 rooms right now. So in signature verification, each one of these ballots comes through, and a single judge will first look at the signature and compare it to the registration signature or past ballot signature on record. Then if there's not a match, or they think there's not a match, it goes to escalating to what we call Tier 2. And Tier 2 is where we have this bipartisan team of judges, and they both take a look at a lot of past signatures in the file, and they have to decide together jointly whether or not the signature matches those past signatures or if it needs to be escalated further. So signature verification judges do get a lot of training, and we follow some state standards and guidelines on how to match signatures, and they get trained on that before they come into this process. So that's what we're taking a look at in here. And we are trying to move things along while still spacing people out, but it is for a slightly slower process than usual with having to space out our teams and go to shifts and things like that. But our team is really great. We still have about 188 election judges who are working for the election this year, and we appreciate all of them coming in to do the work we need for voters to supplement our election services staff here, which full-time staff is about 10 people. And this is Brianna. She runs this signature verification room over in here. If the 2 signatures don't match and the bipartisan team agrees that it doesn't match, then we send the voter a letter and we tell them that they need to cure the signature. It's the same thing as if they forgot to sign the envelope itself. So if you forget to sign the envelope or it doesn't match, you get sent a letter, and you do have time to send back your ID and a signed form, which you can send back by mail or by email or through a mobile device program that we have, a mobile text to cure. In the meantime, while we're waiting for that communication to come back from the voter saying, yep, that was my ballot, I signed it, those ballots get put aside here because we sent them a letter, but we're not doing anything further. At this point, the envelopes have not been opened. Ballots are not counted or looked at in any way. So they're just set aside here waiting to get that letter back from the voter. If we never get the letter back, then we never open the ballot. We just store it as an election record. If we do get the letter back, then we can take it back out into the process, and it can continue on its way with all the other ballots that already had their signature approved. So we'll go on to the next step now where all of those ballots go, which is ballot opening. Thank you, Brianna. Thank you, everybody. So once the ballots have been through signature verification, they get a new color. They're not yellow anymore. They turn either purple or orange. So the purple trays and carts are for ballots that are from a single political party. So someone who is affiliated Republican or Democrat or Libertarian. They received one ballot in the mail, the ballot of their political party. The orange ones are for the unaffiliated voters. Unaffiliated voters who did not express a party preference were sent 2 ballots in this mail, Republican and Democrat. So when that comes back, we have to open them up and make sure that only 1 ballot was sent back, because even though they were sent a choice of Democratic or Republican, you can still only vote 1 ballot. So it's a slightly different opening process. So we run all of those ballots through the Agilis machine one more time to sort them into the 2 types here, so that our ballot opening teams can adjust the way that they handle the ballot, whether or not they're looking for if there's 2 ballots inside. If there are 2 ballots inside for an unaffiliated voter, then we look to see if there's some sort of voter intent to cancel one out. Maybe they voted one, but then they put a big X through it saying, not this one, do the other. And if we can determine an intent, then we count the 1 ballot we can tell was intended to be voted. But if you vote 2 ballots and there's no way to see a voter intent that one was intended to be discarded, then we put both of them back in the envelope and neither ballot is counted. So here we've got some of our election judges doing ballot opening. Hello. So again, we have bipartisan teams doing ballot opening, and we make sure that the envelopes, which have the ballots, the voter's name on it, and the ballots themselves, this is the part where they get separated out and stored separately so that your right to a secret ballot is still preserved. And the ballots themselves get placed over here to be ready for tabulation. And then the envelopes themselves get stored separately as an election record. So at the point when we are counting votes or seeing who voted for which candidate, the voter's name is no longer attached to that packet because the envelope has been moved away into a different section. So we keep those 2 separated at that point. So the ballot opening for the unaffiliateds in this one is slightly different. We don't have anyone doing that right now, but we all have bipartisan teams. And for these orange ones, what we have to do is check also whether an unaffiliated voter not only has 2 ballots, but if they voted the Democratic ballot or the Republican ballot. Because under state law, we have to record that information into your voter file. So they will see which one you voted, Republican or Democrat, make a note of that, so that, again, not who you voted for, not which candidate, just which party's ballot you returned. And that gets placed in to a different bin to be entered data entry into the computer system, so it becomes part of your voter record in the state database. So it's an extra step, again, for the unaffiliated. In November, we will not have this process, because in November, everybody gets the same ballot, no matter for the general election, whether you're unaffiliated, Republican, Democrat, Green Party, Libertarian, it doesn't matter. So this is just a step we're doing now in June because it's a primary. One of the other things I wanted to show you before we go on to tabulation is some of the things that we're doing because of COVID and the public health restrictions that we're operating under. As you can see, I've been giving this whole tour trying not to eat my mask at the same time and fog up my glasses too much. So working with the state, the Secretary of State's office and our county health officials here in Tri-County and our Board of County Commissioners, we've been planning for a couple months for this election to make sure we have all the equipment we need to keep the election judges and the voters and our election staff all safe. So we have a number of items. We've got a lot of cleaning sprays and items that we use just for cleaning surfaces in between teams of folks who are working. We have masks that folks are using, obviously. We have some bandanas that some people. We have a lot of hand sanitizer from all sorts of places. We partnered with Golden Moon Distillery, a local distillery, made some hand sanitizer. I'm going to use some now that I put it on there. We have some gloves for judges when they're opening ballots and stuff to use. And we also send a whole box of this equipment out to voter service centers. So I'm going to back up a little bit when I'm done so that Jeannie can get in to show you this box. But if you have someone who's going to have to go to a voter service center that opens for in-person voting next week, you can see we've got a whole box of supplies we're sending out to every vote service center, including some masks that will be available for voters who show up. We will give you a mask if you don't have one of your own. Also, we have cleaning supplies. We have a plan to clean in between every voter. Every voting booth will be cleaned in between every voter. Every touch screen will be cleaned in between every voter. So we put a lot of time and effort, and these election judges have done extra training to make sure that they're safe and that you're safe as a voter in the whole process as well. So we've added that in for this election. And obviously, we will keep in touch with the Secretary of State and with health authorities to see if we need to continue this process into November. So the last piece is tabulation. Once these ballots have been opened, we want to then tabulate them. Now, tabulation is where we're going to scan them and take an image of the ballots, but we don't actually count the votes. We don't hit total. I have no idea how many people have voted for certain before election night. So I don't have the information before you do. We don't hit totals until 7 o'clock on election night. But we do start scanning the ballots. This room is secure and only certain people have access to tabulation. It also is not connected to the internet. So these ballot machines here in this room cannot be hacked into from the outside internet. These machines are just networked locally. So I'm going to show you one of these here. These are actually just test ballots that I'm going to show you. They're not actual ballots. We do have our judges coming in to do this later, but we don't have anyone here. So this is our scanner that scans the ballots. I'm going to let out of the way so Jeannie can get in there. And these machines scan both sides at the same time. So even though this ballot is only a one-sided ballot, in November when we have longer ballots, like a double-sided ballot that's longer, it will scan both sides of the page at the same time. And it takes an image of each one of those items. And it's stored securely until we want to have those results starting at 7 p.m. on election night. The next step after this, which again we don't have anyone doing right now, is adjudication, which is where we have a bipartisan team looks at any image that has a question about a voter intent on a certain race. Maybe somebody marked two candidates and then crossed one off and then marked a different candidate. So we have bipartisan teams who use our state voter intent guide to make sure that they can agree on what the voter intended the vote to be, and they'll make sure that that's the vote that counts. So they go through each of those images that have any sort of questionable mark to make sure that the voter intent is what's captured in the final count. And again, that's a bipartisan team who works together to agree in the process. So as you can see, a lot of those bipartisan teams around, that's how we end up with 188 election judges very quickly. Even for a smaller election like this, in November, we'll probably have closer to 450 election judges. So one of the things that is really helpful for all of us is, first of all, for you to vote your mail ballot and to vote it soon, like right now. All those drop boxes are open for you to take it out and vote now so we can be working on it. Instead of, if we receive all of ballots on election night, then it takes a long time for us to be able to do this whole process. So that's the first thing you can do to help. The second thing you can do to help is, if you are able, signing up to be an election judge for November will help a lot as well. Again, we need like 450 people from multiple political parties. So if you are able to donate a week or two of your time to help with the election, we would appreciate that. You can get information on our website, arapahoevotes.com, all about that. And finally, just tell your friends about this process, about watching our information. If you're not sure what happens when you finish that mail ballot and put it in a drop box, this is the process. We want to make sure that everyone knows and understands this process so that you can feel safe and secure and know that your vote is being taken care of along the way. Your vote matters, your vote will be counted, and it's all safe and secure here in Arapahoe County. So you can check out our website, arapahoevotes.com, for this information, for information about updating your voter registration. You can still update your voter registration today and get a ballot mailed to you on Monday. For information about locations, about those vote centers that open next week. All of that is on our website. Check out our Facebook page, our Twitter. We have information we'll be posting all the time. And on election night, we will start posting results at 7 p.m. We'll have a set schedule after that. And so we hope that all of you will enjoy the election time, that you can participate, get your vote taken care of, and we'll be here if you have any questions. Thanks for being with us today, and have a good afternoon.